Say to Sir family, first-time viewers, I want to bypass the introduction today and get right into our topic. I believe that we're living in some solemn times. These current events are fulfilling end-time prophecies. And we're told in God's word, the last days is going to appear as a woman giving birth. And now we're seeing these events creating labor pangs, birth pangs, contractions, the tightening. And we know that mothers tell us the first contraction doesn't mean the baby is going to be born. And we are also told that there are time elapses between contractions. But very, very soon, the time begins to decrease between contractions when the baby is about to be born. We're now seeing the contractions, and they're getting worse, more frequent and more intense. One more time, more frequent and more intense. Now, these crises I'm going to share with you may come and go. But one of these days, these crises will usher in the mark of the beast crisis. Here's a great question. How certain are you that these crises will not usher in the mark of the beast crisis, the close of probation, the second coming of Jesus Christ? A time is going to come, many are going to say, we knew the judgments of God were coming upon the earth, but we did not know they would come so soon. Others with agonizing voices are going to say, you knew? Why then did you not tell us? Because we did not know. And today I'm going to be addressing that we're hearing prominent, influential people stating that there is a plan for President Trump to become the first third-term president in 2028. They're calling for a civil war, order out of chaos. I've never heard it so boldly spoken that we need to rip up the U.S. Constitution. Beloved, let me pause right here. Did you all hear what I just said? And after I cover that, then I'm going to transition and address. The media is telling us that this present crisis with the SNAP benefits, the WIC benefits, what's happening right now in Congress, that with travel, people having no food, no access to receiving government benefits, monies and food to buy groceries, to eat, it's going to rival the Great Depression that happened in 1929. They're telling us it's Great Depression 2.0. We have agencies telling us the well has run dry. Startling times. And then I'm going to share with you right now, we see Lowe's. You know Lowe's, that department store like Home Depot. Lowe's has now rolled out SundayRest law. SundayRest laws. You wait for this. Beloved, it's time to implement the 5 keys of survival. Shall we get into it, my friends? We are here. We are here. Let's roll. Just remember these words, that there is a grain of truth in every joke. Headline, Trump tells Christian voters they won't have to vote anymore if he is elected. a grain of truth in every joke. Now, many folks who defend this movement scoffed and said, don't talk about that. That was simply a parody. Is that so? Listen now to President Trump speaking about a third term in 2028, which is against the U.S. Constitution. If you know something is against the law of the land, why would you even consider it? Remember this, based on the Bible, sin begins in the thought. And if you carry it out, not on the actions, take a look at this, my friends. Listen attentively.
President Trump is not ruling out the possibility of seeking a third term, even though it's prohibited by the Constitution's 22nd Amendment. He's joked about it at rallies.
It will be the greatest honor of my life to serve not once, but twice, or 3 times, or 4 times.
But now, in an exclusive phone interview with NBC's Kristen Welker, he says that there are, quote, methods for doing so, and that a lot of people want me to do it. Asked to clarify, he said, I'm not joking, but added it is far too early to think about it. Asked about one possible method, Vice President J.D. Vance running for president and then passing the baton if he won, Trump responding, quote, well, that's one, but there are others too. The president later speaking on Air Force One.
I don't want to talk about a third term now because no matter how you look at it, we got a long time to go.
President also...
Again, just to close off this section, one quick question. If something is illegal, unlawful, based on the U.S. Constitution, why would you even consider it? Number 2, he stated, a lot of people want me to do this. So that means you have a lot of people in high places that don't care about the laws in the U.S. Constitution. They are willing and ready to make it null and void. They are willing and ready to rip up the U.S. Constitution in order to get their tyrannical policies and aims, objectives implemented on Americans and by extension the world. This is a fulfillment of prophecy. Wait until I get to a particular statement in the book Education. Mark that word, that book, I'll get to it. And since they are willing to rip up the laws that govern the land, do you think they would not think to change God's 10 commandments and force people to go against God's day of worship? You need to wake up. Let me segue. Here is Steve Bannon. Very influential. Hear what he says. Third term president. Steve Bannon dropped stunning prediction about 2028. There is a plan. They always have a plan, right? Headline, there is a plan for third term President Trump. Next, Donald Trump will win a third term, says Steve Bannon, as he hails divine providence. It's in order to justify their barbarism, they say God is telling us to do this. Do you know the Jews said the same thing? Let's continue here. Listen, watch. This was aired October 23rd. Watch this.
On him. We're at political war. I say that every day.
So what's the end point of a war?
The end point is we are in charge. We control the institutions, we control the political process. We actually have reclaimed this country, turned it around, put citizens first, and created a...
Again, he just said we are in a political war. Stay right there, same point.
We're winning.
You use the word war a lot. If you really think there is a risk of civil war and the situation is as bad as you are saying, don't you have a responsibility as someone who sees this and who's a student of history and has seen what has happened in history to calm things down rather than...
Not to calm things down at all, to warn people. Do you think if we calm things down, they're going to stop? What planet are you living on? This is my problem with this whole concept of liberal debate. We're in a revolutionary time, both technologically, geopolitically, right? Financially. You're talking, you in this.
We are in a war, political war, a revolution. Now, part of my words, he's going to say that what they're doing is far aggressive than those who were a part of Doge. You remember Doge was trending? This man said Doge guys are crap. No wonder Elon Musk got the boot. So what they're doing is far more aggressive. Watch this, friends.
You wouldn't take the presidency. I think you'll see I think that you'll force the Civil War to be inside of those guys, and they'll say, these radicals are saying violence. And we have to seize the institutions, seize them, and then purge them. We seize the institution, purge them, and that's why you've got guys, it's not the Doge crap. This is serious people like Russ Vought and others that have spent years thinking this whole plan through. We must strike, and we must strike now. I know all the haters hate it.
They spent years putting this plan into motion. And we are told how the Jesuits, how papists work. They plan centuries ahead. She, the papacy, bides her time. Go back and read the book, The Great Controversy. It's the book for the hour. I want you all to go to page 581, paragraph 2. Note it, Great Controversy, page 581, paragraph 2. He just said they are moving aggressively and they are going to strike. Strike? Read Great Controversy, page 581. And for those of you with a shorter version book, I'll give you the actual chapter, lest yours do not align with mine. Liberty of conscience threatened. Now he's going to speak about third-term president. Watch.
And does he need a third term in order to see that job through?
Well, he's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president in 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is, but there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28.
Do you all not hear the sentiments, the statements, the whispering of the dragon? In order to get their Project 2025 agenda accomplished, to get the agenda of the cowboy Catholic, Kevin Roberts, the agenda of the Jesuits, the agenda of the papists, they are willing and ready to rip up, shred the U.S. Constitution. Why don't you not all believe? The other step, in order to get the agenda fully accomplished, we are willing to force people to worship on Sunday. By law, it's coming. You wait until I get to that. Continue. Hear what he says right here.
The president in 28. We had longer odds in 16 and longer odds in 24 than we got in 28. And President Trump will be the president of the United States, and the country needs him to be president of the United States. We have to finish what we started.
So we have to finish what we started. I'm going to share with you now that Russ Vought said the same thing, and President Trump said the very same thing in his previous administration. Hear what this says. Watch carefully. Russ Vought is the one who served in the first Trump administration. Hear what he said. Watch carefully, because he's now in. He controls the purse of the U.S. government. I have been beating and sounding that trumpet for the past several days. Watch.
It's July of 2020, and Vought is sworn in as the director.
We had 6 months to go, and the president said, "Russ, we need another term. We're just figuring this out."
They're all saying the very same thing. Do you remember when J.D. Vance, the vice president, said that we must take control of all institutions in America and make sure only conservatives, only Christians govern the nation? These are the same words of Steve Bannon. So Steve Bannon, Russ Vought, we have Kevin Roberts, Jonathan Berry, we have J.D. Vance, President Trump. and countless others. This is the agenda. Watch carefully here. Now he's going to say that President Trump is God's instrument of vengeance.
Finish what we started. And the way we finish it through Trump. Trump is a vehicle. I know this will drive you guys crazy, but he's a vehicle of divine providence. He's an instrument. He's very imperfect. He's not churchy, not particularly religious, but he's an instrument of divine will. And you can tell this of how he's pulled this off. We need him for at least one more term, right? And he'll get that in 28.
You know, just as people today to deceive others, when they're going in the wrong path, what do they normally say? Well, God told me to do this. God gave me a dream and vision. God inspired me. These men are willing to destroy the country, destroy the U.S. Constitution, and say it's God's will to do that. Beloved, go to John chapter 16. Read verse 1 through verse 3. The time is going to come. Many will put you out of the synagogue. Yea, the time cometh when they that killeth you will think that they do God service. That's Bible. John 16, verse 1 through verse 3. They'll kick you out, take away your liberty, civil and religious, no rights anymore, and persecute, prosecute, even kill you and say, it's God's will. The very same words of Steve Bannon. By the way, in that same John 16, if you read on, that is a chapter where Christ mentions his second coming. In that chapter, he mentions the second coming, the events that precede it is going to be as a woman in labor. And the world will be rejoicing, but his people will go through sorrow as a woman in labor. The birth pangs are here. All right. Watch this. He just said, by the way, go back here, preacher. He just said in October 23rd, 2025, Trump is an instrument of God's will. The point I'm making, this was not the first time Steve Bannon and Russ Vought made that statement. Watch this. Happened before.
Finish what we started. And the way we finish it through Trump. Trump is a vehicle. I know this will drive you guys crazy, but he's a vehicle of divine providence.
I just played this, right? Okay, here it is now. Pardon me for the repetition. Here it is now.
There's a moment in one of these tapes at this annual confab, and it was actually a speech given by Steve Bannon.
And I realize there's some people that question Trump, but look at that command performance he gave the other night. I mean, it's like Charlemagne. That's like a Viking chieftain standing up there. Russ can tell he's a very imperfect instrument, right? But he's an instrument of the Lord. He's an instrument of the Lord for his vengeance. Okay.
We think about Bannon and Vought as surrogates of Trump. When you hear Bannon describe Trump as an instrument of God, you start to think that maybe it's the other way around. That Trump is an instrument that Vought uses, that Bannon uses, or in their view.
Romans 13 and verse 4. What is this, preacher?
He is the minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath.
Yes. Romans chapter 13, verse 4. Beloved, I'm going to remove the cloud and make sure this is announced without ambiguity. Do you not see that this is the voice of the dragon? In Revelation 13 now, not Romans 13 verse 4, as Jared just said, but Revelation 13 verse 11. Listen now. This nation, America, the beast, looking like a lamb, two horns like a lamb, right? But speak as a dragon. Those two horns represent what, everybody? They represent Protestantism, Republicanism. They represent the principles enshrined in the U.S. Constitution. A church without a pope, a nation without a king, religious freedom, civil freedom. These freedoms are found in the U.S. Constitution. Are we together? But it will speak as a dragon. The dragon has wrath. And Steve Bannon is saying we are willing to rip up, bypass the U.S. Constitution to get our agenda accomplished, the agenda of the papists. That's the dragon voice. Watch this now. In this segment, you'll hear it. We will bypass the U.S. Constitution.
You're not driving me crazy. I'm trying to understand the coherence of the things you've just told me in the last few minutes. On the one hand, you've said the Constitution is fit for purpose. Secondly, you've said that President Trump needs another term, even though the 22nd Amendment makes pretty clear that he cannot have another term.
Why does it make that clear?
Because he's on his second term already.
At some point in time, we will make sure we go through Zanny and define all those terms.
But even if you find a way to undermine you will be undermining the spirit of that amendment, even if you find some way around it. And to those
Can the American people, if the American people, with the mechanisms that we have, put Trump back in office, are the American people tearing up the Constitution? Would that be tearing up?
Well,
would the American people be going against the spirit of the Constitution, ma'am?
I think yes, actually, because I think what you will end up with is a populist justification for a quasi-dictatorship.
That's not true at all. Trump
That's what it sounds like.
It's not. Trump is.
So if the people call for it, it's okay. Where have we heard a similar language? That was at the first advent. It was in Matthew 27. The leaders persuaded the people to ask for Barabbas and say, crucify Jesus. It was the call of the people. If the people say it, it cannot be against the U.S. Constitution. So that means they are going to stir up the people to get a populist cry. We want Trump. We want Trump. Third-term president. But hold on. It's against the U.S. Constitution. We don't care. You could hear it. You could see it. Because we must finish what we have started. You could see it. We want Barabbas. Give us Barabbas. But what about Christ, your king? We have no king but Caesar. Give us Barabbas. Give us Barabbas. In John chapter 11, but that was John 19, verse 12, verse 15. Now, in John chapter 11, verse 47 through verse 53, the leaders were willing to kill their savior to save their country. So they thought. And by killing Christ in their minds to save the country, it led to the destruction of Jerusalem. Apply it now. We are willing to rip up the U.S. Constitution to get the papal agenda fulfilled. And we will save our country, but that move will cause them to bring God's 7 last plagues upon them who are unrepentant and all others. The birth pangs are here. Watch this. Beloved, in the book Education, page 228, here it is now. At the same time, anarchy. What is anarchy? At the same time, anarchy is seeking to sweep away all law, not only divine, but human laws. Stop right there. Beloved, what would be the principal law in America? The U.S. Constitution. And Sister White wrote, at the same time, anarchy is seeking to sweep away all law, not only divine, but human, the U.S. Constitution. And then she mentioned in details the Civil War that is coming, as it was in France in the French Revolution. We are here, my friends. I could stop right now. And the point has been made. It's time to implement the 5 keys of survival. That right there, one statement, based on the current events, show the mark of the beast is nearer than when you believed. Watch this.
His
kind of
policy,
tensions
first
there.
off, the only way President Trump wins in 2028 and continues to stay in office is by the will of the American people.
Mercy.
Okay? And the will of the American people is what the Constitution embodies. And so I think we're going to be in good hands there. We need to finish what we started. And President Trump is the instrument, a providential instrument to finish that, to finish this job.
Do I need to repeat John 16, verse 1 through verse 3? I'll give you a second text. With John 16. Revelation 13. Look carefully at verse 14 and verse 15. Who calls for the image of the beast to be formed? Who calls for Sunday worship by law? Is the people. It's the people. It's the people. Just as at the first advent, it was an abomination to say, give us Barabbas, but crucify Jesus. But yet the people said, we want Barabbas, crucify Jesus. It was the will of the people. And now we're seeing the dragon voice again. Watch carefully. Listen what Sister White wrote in volume 5, page 451. We're told that they will repudiate. What does that word mean, repudiate? Every principle of the U.S. Constitution as a Protestant and Republican government. Hold on now. Those are your 2 horns of Revelation 13:11. Protestantism and Republicanism. To make provision for the propagation of papal falsehoods and delusions. Project 2025, with a cowboy Catholic, they are pushing for Sunday worship by law in America. That's the end goal. And along that journey are the tyrannical laws until they get to the apex of the mountain, Sunday worship by law. Then we may know the end is near. Stop it right there, brother. Then we may know the end is near. Is the end near now? Oh, Pastor Enriquez, stop talking about these things. Flee from those leaders, preachers in SDA and people who are trying to blindfold you, to keep you away from this platform. Save to Serve, prophesy again. Do not be deceived. We're too close, too near. Let's move on. Here's J.D. Vance. In this section, I'm going to confirm now the words of Steve Bannon and Russ Vought are the words of the vice president and the president and Kevin Roberts. You're seeing the dragon company right now. Watch this. Protestantism, apostates, and Roman Catholics. Watch this.
I think the thing that we have to take away from the last 10 years is that we really need to be really ruthless when it comes to the exercise of power.
It makes sense now. Ruthless is very general. How ruthless will you be? They are willing to rip up the U.S. Constitution. That is ruthless.
The reason that so many anchors on MSNBC, for example, are losing their minds daily is because our side is winning. And so I come full circle in this response and just want to encourage you with some substance that we are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
See, it's a revolution. Just as Kevin Roberts and J.D. Vance put forth this book, it's time to arm ourselves. Load the muskets. That language is Civil War language. All right.
The basis of the plan is public. You can see that at project2025.org. There are parts of the plan that we will not share with the left. The executive orders, the rules and regulations, just like a good football team, we don't want to tip off our playbook to the left.
Well, Kevin Roberts it seems to me and to all of us that Steve Bannon let the kitty out the bag. The cat is out the bag because he just said in that interview they are willing to circumvent the U.S. Constitution. Tear up, his words, tear up, rip up the U.S. Constitution. So that is your end goal. You are a devil. Repent before it's too late. Now, I'm going to segue. I'm going to speak about the SNAP benefits and the WIC benefits being under threat right now. People are starving, fear, the contractions. Do you know many times we have watched many movies and documentaries in the past? What happens when a mother who is about to give birth, let's say 8 months in that last trimester, third trimester, about to give birth, let's say the mother goes through a crisis. What happens? The body goes into a shock. And then the baby might be born prematurely before the full term. Some of you might think for the last 30 minutes, that first half does not connect with the second half, but everything is connected. Could it be Russ Vought, who holds the bag, holding Americans hostage, is to get their MAGA agenda, papal agenda, Jesuit agenda implemented? They are willing to make you traumatize. And of course, the elephant party blames the donkey party. And now the donkey party blames the elephant party while people are suffering. Headline, SNAP benefits. We have reached an inflection point. No money. Listen, some things I covered about 2 days ago. I have more. Watch this.
Over 41 million recipients of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP, could lose food stamps by November 1st, next Sunday, a week from today, as funds for the critical program are set to run out as part of the shutdown. The Agriculture Department says they are not able to use $6 billion of contingency funds during the government shutdown. And any state that covers expenses on their own will not be reimbursed. News Nation's Alicia Nieves joining us now. Alicia, good morning. Walk us through what this means for millions of Americans.
Yeah, I've been following this closely for a week now. And for the first time, we are now hearing the USDA explicitly say here that there are going to be no more SNAP benefits. This well, as the USDA says, it runs dry come November 1st, less than a week from now. SNAP benefits, I mean, they provide low-income Americans with money usually loaded on an electronic card to purchase things like food and groceries. Eligibility, of course, depends on factors like household size and income. And in a post on its website, the department says the well has run dry, directly blaming.
Everybody read my lips, listen attentively, and speak with me. The well has run dry. That's it right there. I had to go to the USDA website to find it. Bottom line, the well has run dry. Continue. Listen.
The pain from the government shutdown is growing now well into its fourth week. SNAP benefits for more than 40 million Americans could run out on November 1st. At least one expert is predicting this could potentially trigger the greatest hunger catastrophe in the U.S. since the Great Depression.
Mercy.
Here's ABC's Alex Prochet.
Mercy. Mercy. Beloved, I don't care if you call this crying wolf, because this may come and pass. But how certain are you? And while you are saying, I don't believe it, things will get better, people are fearful. People are suffering. We did not recover since the pandemic, 3.5 years. And now this, no wonder we need to implement the 5 keys of survival so that we aren't government dependent. We aren't paupers. And those of us with a little more help others who don't have as much. Continue. Rivaling the Great Depression 2.0. Hold on. Let me see how many people will be doing what, trick or treat now? Let me see if this is going to affect trick or treat this coming Friday, October 31st. They might say no trick or treat. Well, that may be a good thing, amen? A good thing. Those of you in the studio, a good thing? All right, let's move on.
Okay.
Tonight, with the government shutdown well into its fourth week, millions of Americans are bracing for an even bigger strain. On Friday, more than 500,000 federal workers missed their first full paycheck. Another 700,000 plus are set to join them this week. And starting next weekend, federal SNAP food assistance benefits for some 40 million Americans will run out. The USDA website now with this stark warning. Bottom line, the well has run dry. At this time, there will be no benefits issued November 1st.
Mercy, continue. Continue. Stay right there. These are things I did not share a few days ago.
For now, millions of Americans are preparing for the worst. Food banks inundated.
We're trying to stock up before something happens.
This DC food pantry trying to keep up with demand. Most Sundays they serve 300 families. Today, they're on pace for 400.
I just helped this one lady. She was like, I didn't think I was going to have to be here, but God willing, the government's going to open up next week.
Air traffic controllers calling out sick and taking second jobs, leading to staffing shortages at major airports in Washington, D.C., Chicago, and Newark. LAX temporarily issuing a ground stop. Our Faith Abube is at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport.
Here in Atlanta, the TSA security lines mirroring what they usually look like during peak holiday travel, with some travelers taking about an hour just to get through.
Atlanta.
And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent today warning that funds to pay the military will soon run out.
We managed to find the money in the middle of October to pay our brave service members, and I think we'll be able to do it on November 1st, but we're going to be out of money on November 15th. And, for our military not to get paid is a disgrace.
Lindsay, a vote to fund the government has failed in the Senate 12 times now, and the House is scheduled to be on recess for what would be its 5th consecutive week. And through it all, this Congress still gets paid.
Let me move very fast. Listen.
This morning, more than 40 million people, that's roughly 1 in every 8 Americans, are bracing to see their food assistance run out later this week, creating a food crisis some experts say could be the worst since the Great Depression, all because of the government shutdown. The U.S. Agriculture Department, which administers the SNAP or Food Snap program, announcing, quote, the well has run dry.
Everyone's worried that, they're not going to be able to feed their families.
Mercy. Continue.
Chants of "We will not go hungry" on the steps of New York City Hall. Citizens, advocates, and local politicians protesting massive cuts to the SNAP program by the Trump administration.
Okay, I'm going somewhere. Listen, watch.
42 million people could lose their food stamps if Schumer doesn't open up by Halloween. Schumer and Hips are still getting a paycheck, but poor families can't eat, and they're getting hangry.
Y'all better stay out of my way in these stores. I'm walking out with carts and I'm not paying for Trump, if you won't start looting, it's gonna happen. Before my kids go broke as like Jock, I'm gonna be stealing like it ain't no tomorrow.
Go ahead.
Listen, stay right there. I'm going somewhere, friends. Stay with me.
Go ahead and start stealing from grocery stores. Walmart already has enough money.
Since they want to take food stamps away, I'm going to Walmart. I'm going to rack up any damn Walmart, throw it right in the basket. I'm coming right about that move, get the out my way. I'm not paying for a damn thing.
It's a hanger strike, and they're warning workers, don't get in our way.
And a PSA to them retail workers during this hard time of what is going on in the world. I really don't advise y'all to try to chase after anybody that's trying to collect them some food for their family as they're walking out that door with that cart, because you might around and don't make it home.
And lock your doors. They're not just going for the grocery aisle.
Let me not get my food stamps. I'm going back to stealing. I don't care. If you leave your car unlocked in the middle of the night, lock it. If I don't get no food stamps, believe me and mine's gonna eat regardless.
Beloved, in Manuscript Releases, Volume 5, page 305, we are told, a food crisis brings the Civil War. Hear what this says. I have shared this over and over again in India, China, Russia, the cities of America. Thousands of men and women are dying of starvation. The elite, moneyed men, They control the market. Listen now, this means starvation to the poorer classes and will result in a civil war. The only question is, will this be the one that is going to have a snowballing effect, and lead us into that civil war? Mark of the beast, the close of probation, second coming of Christ. Since we aren't certain, get ready now. Why did I repeat those clips you just saw a few moments ago? Because of this. Watch this. Order out of chaos. This person, I don't believe is SDA, but he can see the Hegelian dialectic. Watch this. Watch.
Everything in this reality is just a test. And what's happening right now with the SNAP benefits is one of the biggest tests. Nature gave us everything free, but the Matrix put a price tag on everything. This video is about to get a little dark and a little deep. Stay with me. No food stamps, no benefits. If y'all start shoplifting or stealing, they will bring in the National Guards. The Matrix don't have emotions, so you can't use your emotions when you try to fight them back. Everything is planned out. Your emotions will never get you anywhere if you don't understand the laws of the universe. Order, chaos. These people set a stage for chaos so they can come in with the order. And when you start shoplifting, that's the chaos. When the National Guards come in, that's the order. These people use our emotions against us. So we need to start thinking with this.
Mercy.
So what is the two tests that's taking place right now? Freedom, enslavement. We are watching a major reset take place right in front of us because we had an opportunity to be free. But if you don't want to be free, you want to beg and cry for the system to enslave you once again. And so many people want to be enslaved. Once again, nature give us everything free and then Matrix take away everything that's free. So when they cut off your food stamps, understand something. You already have freedom. If you have a house, you have one of the greatest resources on this planet. Learn how to use it. Your front yard was created for you to grow your fruits. Your backyard was created for you to grow your vegetables. Your basement or your underground bunker was used as a storage place for your beans, your rice, your lentils, your chickpeas, or I should say your survival kit, nuts, seeds, herbs, store it in your basement. If you do it the right way, you can have food that will last you for years. Your home is your greatest resource. Your garden, your bunker, everything. Everything.
Mercy. Friends, when Brother Greg sent me that clip, I said, this person who is not, I don't believe is SDA, he puts the nail in a sure place. If you play the game with them and start to shoplift, that is chaos. And now the administration has the authority now to bring in the National Guard, even the military, to bring order. Order out of chaos. And what has been trending? Trump wanting to place the National Guard, even the military, in various cities. Civil war. Secondly, everything this man just said, everything this man just said brings to view the 5 keys of survival. Key number 1, conversion. Key number 2, country living. Key number 3, having food, water, and other resources on your property. And of course, 2 more keys. And the final key is assisting those who are less fortunate. The world can see it. Continue. Beloved, in this segment, I'm going to share with you now that these tyrants, they want the conflict because they want the civil war.
Our view is that that's where the country needs us, and we're not going to save our country without a little confrontation. And so if I get attacked, willing to provide a model in the same way that I've looked at you, Steve, and Peter, and said, look, these guys have counted the cost. If you're not willing to count the cost, I don't want to serve with you. I really do not want to serve with you in government if you have not been willing to acclimate yourselves to the possibility that you will have to spend a night in jail, that you will have to spend a night in jail, that you will have to tell your family you may not see me for a while. That is the only mentality that we will save our country. And when we all start understanding it, that courage is contagious, we will have an army of people that are ready for the conflict that is coming with regard to what the left will throw at us.
provision. And then I got my hands on this video.
We want the bureaucrats to be traumatically affected. When they wake up in the morning, we want them to not want to go to work.
He talks about this goal of wanting to traumatize federal workers.
We want to put them in trauma.
That just planted this seed in my mind that I had to try to figure out who this person is.
He declined my request for an interview.
Who is this person? A Christian nationalist.
Great. So I want to make sure that we can say we're a Christian nation, and my viewpoint is mostly that I would probably be Christian nationism.
And friends, they
That's
want to make Trump
Christian nationalism. Can we?
There it is. They want to make cut that. They want to make Trump king. But go back and read John 6. When they tried to make Christ king, he rejected it. John 18. Christ said to Pilate, "My kingdom is not of this world." Move on. What is Kevin Roberts calling for? Sunday worship. I have played these clips ad nauseum. I need to get to Lowe's. Pardon me? I must get to Lowe's right now. I must get to Lowe's right now. So let me quickly bypass this. Kevin Roberts calling for Sunday worship.
Rather than simply...
And let me just truncate this. He is promoting Rerum Novarum, Kevin Roberts. And that same document is calling for Sunday worship by law. It's right there. Rerum Novarum. We must urge people, force people. Move on from that. Kevin Roberts. So we know what the end goal is. They are willing to rip up the U.S. Constitution to get political agenda implemented. What about the religious side of it? This is the U.S. Department of Labor. Jonathan Berry. And what were they promoting a few days ago? Sunday rest by law and Sunday worship by law. Friends, in this segment, do you remember when Jonathan Berry said, our agenda, Project 2025, our agenda, the Catholic agenda, our agenda is to force companies that operate in states to close on Sundays. That was the agenda. Start state by state, and then we'll get to the federal level, just as they did with the sodomy law. Now, I'm going to play Mr. Berry, and then I'll get to Lowe's. Watch this.
When should states use this power?
One more time.
When should states use this power to check corporate power? This is where prudential judgment has to come in. I don't have bright line rules to give you here, but I want to lay out some guideposts, some categories of state actions that are likelier to be prudent applications of state power to balance corporate power. And another one in the collective action space that I'm fond of, call it the Chick-fil-A rule, would be to revive Sunday closing laws and carve out a space under which commerce does not intrude. Very well settled that this is within a state's authority to do.
The Chick-fil-A rule. Chick-fil-A closes their doors on Sundays. And now they want to control the states and force the states to force companies to close on Sunday. That's why they want Trump for a third term. To finish what they began. And all these executive orders can be repealed. If another president comes into office, it all makes sense. Watch now. This is a Lowe's commercial my wife sent to me. October 4, 2025. Lowe's. Watch this.
Lowe's knows Sundays hit different when you earn them.
You ready?
It's Saturday.
Dave's ready. Dave George ready. He's miles ahead of you.
Hold on. It's what day? It's Saturday. So we can work on Saturday, but rest on Sunday. Force them to work on Saturday, all 6 days, but now rest. Worship on Sunday. Watch this. You wait.
Lowe's knows Sundays hit different when you earn them.
You ready?
It's Saturday.
Dave's ready. Dave George ready. He's miles ahead of you.
We flying, Dave.
Call!
Let's go.
Plenty of runtime, and it's even got turbo mode.
That's what they called me in college. No, they didn't. They called me a lot of things, different things.
I bet they did.
We'll take it. We got a Sunday to earn.
We help you tackle that project by Saturday so you can earn your Sunday. Lowe's.
Yeah. Rest on Sunday. Just as Project 2025 says, let us make sure that we put into law in every single state, you must work 6 days a week. Hear what he says. Jonathan Berry, who now heads the U.S. Department of Labor as its solicitor. Watch.
Sabbath. So this is, I think this is about as far as the federal government could properly go in this space, but it would be an encouragement and inducement to rest, but really to kind of coordinate commercial activity for the other 6 days of the week.
Coordinate commercial activities for the other 6 days. That is what? Monday through Saturday. Rest and worship on Sunday by law. And here he is talking about Constantine. And friends, it has already begun. Ken Ivory, Project 2025, congressman over there in Utah. It's right there. Get corporations to close their doors on Sunday. And then the congressman and the Governor Cox of Utah, they were asked, will there be an accommodation for Seventh-day Adventists? And in the document, it shows there is no accommodation for Seventh-day Adventists. It's right there, friends. And remember, the Washington Post ran this article stating, Seventh-day Adventists are a threat to America because they won't rest and worship on Sunday. It's right there, the Washington Post. What more can I say, my friends? I want you all to go back and look at Revelation 6, the 4 horses, the first 4 seals. Look at seal number 3, the black horse, listen to me, which historically points to Constantine, Sunday worship by law. And who do they say is modern day Constantine? President Trump. The 4th seal, the pale horse, it says that they will kill people with hunger, death and starvation. The 4th seal, paleness, pale horse. Go back now and read Jeremiah 30, verse 5 through verse 8. Jacob's time of trouble is connected to paleness. It's all connected. The birth pangs are here. Implement those 5 keys of survival. I'm out of here. Look for a second video coming shortly today. I must close right now. Get ready. Remain ready. Get others ready before it is too late. The protest continues. The Reformation continues. Maranatha.